It's Brother Teacher again. Do you all think that Steven Seagal respects Jean Claude Van Damme as a martial artist or practitioner of the martial artist? Do you think Steven Seagal actually believes that Jean Claude Van Damme is a martial artist to be reckoned with, or who has accomplished some things in that particular field of study? Or does Steven Seagal look at Jean Claude Van Damme as just a guy that studied ballet and maybe was featured in several martial arts movies back in the early years? Well, I saw maybe at least one, but maybe two videos where Steven Seagal was being interviewed and he was asked about the credibility, or he was asked what he thought about Jean Claude Van Damme specifically. And in one instance he said, "Can we go to another subject?" Or he just nodded his head, which the telltale sign was that. And I don't know if they have some bad blood between them. I'm not privy to that. But I think that is not fair. I believe that Jean Claude Van Damme is a martial artist. I also believe that Steven Seagal is a martial artist as well. I believe that both men are very gifted. I don't know what's going on with Van Damme now in this point of his career, but I have seen some things that Steven Seagal have done in recent years as far as his television show about policemen or what have you. And I know he had been training some person or persons in the MMA arena for a while or period. I do honestly feel that Steven Seagal is extremely overweight as a practitioner of the martial arts, and I've said this in time past, and I would say it to him in a very kind and loving way. I think that, or I believe I should say, and I can say specifically, forget the belief and I think part, and let's just cut to the brass tacks and say this: you should not be extremely obese as a martial artist. You just shouldn't. Now, I love Steven Seagal as far as his personality is concerned and or character. He should accept what I'm saying, because I'm saying it in the spirit of love. I'm not attacking him. I'm just saying he's been in Hollywood. He's made many movies and continues to make films right now, and he's still out there in the public's view. However, as a martial arts master, and I believe he is, it's not very representative of a martial arts master, even if it's the art of Aikido, where it's not as physical as karate per se or as jiu-jitsu per se. You still have a certain image that you're supposed to have. I used this example a long time ago, and ever so often I'll use the same example, and that's simply this: if you walk into a martial arts training hall or school, you've got three individuals. Let's change that. Let's just say two individuals. You've got one guy that's standing up straight. He's slim to medium build. Looks like he's healthy and in shape. Then you have another guy standing alongside him. He has a belly that's hanging over his belt, severely hanging over his belt, and that every time he walks, he's sort of gasping for breath. But the guy that's overweight or extremely overweight is the master instructor. And the individual that's standing erect, or who seems to have a better built body and seems to be a little bit more physically in shape, that is a master under that master. So who would you choose to be your instructor? The one that looks the part, or the one that and he has a huge belly, you make that decision. And you think about this. This is what I believe. Now, I have arthritis in my hips, and I have a limp, and I walk around occasionally with the aid of a cane because of the arthritis in my hips. Howbeit, my demeanor, my personality, and or character, when I interact with people in the world, especially in martial arts, or the capacity of martial arts, especially when we're talking about a prospective student, there's a certain aura that you have, and there's a certain presentation that you have that's not contrived. It is who you are. I can still gain students. I can, even with the limp, even in being past 55 years old, I can still gain students. But something goes with that, in the sense that people know when you represent the thing. I don't care how many years you have behind you in martial arts training or martial arts experience. People are looking at how you are today as well. You can say, well, I've won hundreds and thousands of championships 20 years ago, or over the past 20 or 30 years. And you can say, well, I've taught the president's children. I've taught the king of Siam. I've taught the leader of Russia, or the leader of Israel. It doesn't matter. Your personality and that information goes hand in hand. So how do you look before your students? How do you look before the general public when they come in looking for someone to teach them and or their children? You can't be extremely obese. Excuse me, extremely overweight. I just made that word up. Obese. I don't know what that means. But anyway, you cannot be extremely overweight and not taking care of your health. You have to watch what you eat. You have to be disciplined to be disciplined, as I always say. So, getting back to the original purpose of this video, was to ask the question, does Steven Seagal have a problem with Van Damme? Does anyone have any information about them not having, let's say, a good relationship over the years, or having some tiff between the two of them? I don't know what's going on, but every time that I have seen Seagal asked a question concerning not only Van Damme, I'm just pointing him out because he's been the most prevalent individual, but every time he's asked about Van Damme in particular, he sloughs him off as being nothing. And I think that's unfair. In other words, why can't we all just get along to get along? I'm just curious to know, what do you think about this relationship, or a lack of relationship and or respect between Steven Seagal and Jean Claude Van Damme? Let me know.